Welcome back. The Nigerian government has arrested 4 senior military officers in a troubling sign of potential unrest in the West African nation just 2 months before elections. The officers were arrested on Tuesday. Among those taken into custody were the former military chief of staff, General Sulaiman Salu, and Lieutenant Colonel Dan Hakua, the head of the Air Force base in the capital, Niamey. Political tensions are on the rise in Niger, a major uranium producer and an important Western ally in the fight against regional Islamist militants, including Boko Haram, which has threatened Nigeria's northeast region. The government on Tuesday fixed February 21st as the date for the next presidential and parliamentary elections. President Mamadou Issoufou is heavily favored to win the elections, but the opposition accuses him of a campaign of repression ahead of the vote. Let's turn to Kenya now. 540 people have been discovered to have been infected by a cholera outbreak in the country's largest refugee camp. At least 7 people have been killed there in the last few weeks. Medical charity Médecins Sans Frontières has set up a cholera treatment center in the sprawling Dadaab camp, which is home to some 350,000 refugees. Most of them are from Somalia and South Sudan, who've been fleeing civil wars in their countries. And more than 8,000 people have been treated for cholera across Kenya since December 2014. Cholera spreads through contaminated food and drinking water. It causes diarrhea, nausea, and vomiting. It can be fatal if not treated, and though most patients recover if treated properly with oral rehydration therapy. Now, because of how crowded the camp is, it makes it much easier for cholera to spread, because we have with issues of poor sanitation, like you have in the Dadaab, that it becomes even more threatening that more people will have cholera. More refugees have been pouring into the camp, especially with recent crisis now in Somalia as well as in Burundi. Well, MSF says it is hard for the refugees to maintain good hygiene because there are shortages of water and latrines. To another crisis, Chief Prosecutor at the International Criminal Court, Fatou Bensouda, says the people of South Sudan have been left down for too long, despite her office's repeated requests to the UN Security Council to take action. She was addressing the council recently and said, as a result of Sudan's blatant disregard of its obligations, her appeals continue to be unheeded. She noted how Sudanese President Omar Hassan Ahmad al-Bashir wanted by the ICC on 5 counts of crimes against humanity, 2 counts of war crimes, and 3 of genocide, continues to travel across international borders, but he also harbors other fugitives and refuses to facilitate their surrender and transfer to the ICC to be tried. Now, earlier, the Council extended the mandate of the UN Interim Security Force for Abyei until May 15, 2016. It also extended the mandate of the UN mission in South Sudan until July 31, 2016, and increased the force levels of the mission up to a ceiling of 13,000 troops and 2,001 personnel who are from the police.
Each of the resolutions adopted by this Council represented hope for the victims of grave crimes allegedly committed in Darfur, that they will not be forgotten, that those responsible for their suffering will be held accountable, and that peace and tranquility will return to their lives, families, and communities. I observe with great regret that the adoption of each resolution has, in practical terms, amounted to no more than an empty promise.
Statement, and I now give the floor to the...
Meanwhile, more than 2 million people in South Sudan have fled their homes to escape conflict and are now facing hunger due to crisis caused by the ongoing political crisis. As some displaced civilians have settled in Kolapach, a small village in Jonglei, in the country's north, where agencies are distributing food aid.
2 years of conflict in South Sudan has seen over 2 million people in the country flee their homes to shelter in various camps for the displaced. Continued fighting has mostly affected civilians in the northern oil-producing Unity, Jonglei, and Upper Nile states, where hunger has become acute. Humanitarians say malnutrition is now at catastrophic levels, and there is a risk of famine in some places towards the end of the year. According to an analysis carried out by Hunger Respect from aid agencies and the government, conflict, high food prices, and the worsening economy has pushed 4.6 million South Sudanese into hunger. The region is vast and often insecure, so humanitarian agencies are airdropping food aid. South Sudan was plunged into a civil war in December 2013, when a political crisis triggered fighting between forces loyal to President Salva Kiir and rebels allied with his former deputy, Riek Machar. The conflict has reopened ethnic fault lines and pit Kiir's Dinka people against Machar's ethnic Nuer. A peace deal was signed in August, but the two sides have repeatedly accused each other of violations. Most of South Sudan's 11 million people are subsistence farmers or herders without regular incomes.
Harvest is poor this season, so as a result, we predict the hunger gap will come early, and there will be shortage of food to the displaced people as well as the host community.
The conflict has killed thousands of people and seen over 500,000 others flee the country, according to humanitarian agencies.
To another south in Africa. South Africa this time. Wednesday was quite the day. Thousands of people hit the streets demanding that President Jacob Zuma be sacked. The president has been under the spotlight this year, and there have been public outcry over first the scandal following the renovation of his private residence, then ignoring the ICC warrant and arresting Sudanese President Omar al-Bashir, and then recently the economy. The grass this time is that he has changed finance ministers 3 times in 1 week. South Africans say it shows that President Zuma does not have a firm grip on governance. The protests have extended to social media. Hashtags such as Zuma must fall have been trending. VOA's Anita Powell joins us now from Johannesburg. She has more on this. Anita, thanks for joining us on Network Africa. Great to see you after such a long time. So were the protests in any way violent on Wednesday?
Not that we've heard, reportedly. There were no major reports of violence. And it's fitting. Wednesday was the day of Africa. So there were reports of violence.
Oh dear, I think we do have problems hearing you, Anita, but let's try again. I'm not sure our viewers heard your comments on whether the protests were violent on Wednesday. Could you just repeat what you said?
Sure, sorry. What I was saying Wednesday was the National Day of Reconciliation, a public holiday, and there were no violence, which I think is the holiday. Unity and peace.
But apart from ordinary South Africans who feel that what is happening to the economy is as a result of President Jacob Zuma's actions, are there dissenting voices perhaps in government who agree with the protesters?
Well, there were. Health Minister Barbara Hogan, who's an ANC member, stalwart, called on Jacob Zuma to resign. So did some junior members of the ANC. However,
I'm afraid we had to let Anita Powell go. We'll return to her as soon as we can rework the connections. But still ahead on Network Africa. With Liberia given the clean bill of health from the Ebola virus disease, trade ministers at the World Trade Organization welcome its membership. Please stay with us for more.